The reason I was thinking about this was I love to have conversations with new people. Mm-hmm. It's always like it's a lot of things. It's entertaining, but it's always informative in some fashion, right? And so I was thinking we should do a segment on who to listen to and why it's important to listen to them. I'm Matt Logan, the host of This Matters in Real Life. Oh, hey, stay tuned at the end of this. I'll give you some more information.
Sorry. I'm sorry. We thought you were someone else.
During the recording of the following podcast, no Democrats, Republicans, actors, chemists, dogs, cats, well, you get the idea, were harmed. However, it has been said some have been offended by the opinions seen and heard here. Oh, and please remember to pull clips out of context.
Mm-hmm. And that would be the people that you run into, the people that you have as a Lyft driver and Ubers and so on. And I think it's important to understand we need to listen to those people because they're a lot like us. They're grinding. They're in the world doing difficult things and all of that. Mm-hmm. It's so crucial. We don't need to listen to Tucker Carlson's, and we don't need to listen to Hannity Combs, and we don't need to listen to Donald Trump and Joe Biden to get our daily advice and what we need, how to live. We need to do that with our neighbors and the people that are
sitting on the couch next to us.
That too. And it's like, I'm old, I get it, and I plug into my phone more than I should and things too, but I mean, I've met so many cool people. If you just ask them the right questions, open-ended questions, obviously the one that gets it started, like, hey, did you grow up around here? That's a closed question, but that's it's an icebreaker.
Right.
And so it's a yes or a no. So then you have the ability to open up the conversation, like, no, I'm not. And then it's like, you can then say something, oh, hey, well, I'm from Rochester, Minnesota originally, and you kind of go on in that. What about you? Tell me about your,
Right, where are you from?
And then it just opens things up. I've met people from Israel, from the Ukraine. We just talked about the Ukraine. Mm-hmm. Met people from, China and Iraq and Iran and Saudi Arabia and Dubai. Italy. I know I'm forgetting more than anything. And obviously people local as well. But you really understand the importance of what it means in everyday life to have those conversations rather than we need to get information on what's happening, in the world and all those things, but the living things that we need to do, the grocery stores, all of that, the gas stations, why to go to them and not go to them or whatever, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's so fun. I mean, it lights me right up. I love it. Hey, everybody, just really quick, if you haven't done so yet, go ahead and hammer the subscription button. Okay, thanks a lot. We appreciate it. Now back to the show.
Well, and during hearing different opinions, and especially when you're traveling somewhere else, which you do all the time. We were down outside of Cancun last week, and we had a taxi driver for a day, and it was just kind of fun to poke and prod him on life in Cancun as a resident. And, we had a chance to talk about the crime that's down there, and interestingly enough, how it's twisted in the media of what's been happening. And
what do you mean by that?
So we were really concerned about going down there because of the shootings. And because of that, we stayed south of Cancun, not in the hotel row. And he was telling us that there was a shooting with 2 or 3 Canadians and 2 or 3 Eastern European people in a hotel lobby. Well, the news left out the fact that the Canadians were wanted in Canada for bad things, and they were there meeting these Eastern Europeans making a major drug deal.
Sure.
That's why there was a shooting. It wasn't a turf war thing.
Sure.
Which is all we had seen on the media was that it was a drug cartel war for territory.
Yeah.
which wasn't the case at all in this pretty major shooting in a lobby of a hotel. So, but you would never hear that on the news. And just hearing how, it is to be a local down there as opposed to just everything you see about the tourism world. But it was neat to see that local opinion, which is what you're going to get.
Exactly. That's so cool. One of the big things, my own experience is the reason I decided and understood the real massive, crucial importance and all those big words of having those conversations like this rather than listening to the media clips and all this, because TikTok and Instagram and all of this, they're just it's clickbait, all of it.
It's all clickbait.
And sure, I've done some of it too to see, like, I've done some different thumbnails to see like what performs. Yeah, I'll admit it. Mm-hmm. But I'm trying not to be hyperbolic or unrealistic or anything like that either. Just, but everybody is trying to be the next TikTok star and the next influencer and all those things. And when we're surrounded by influencers all around us.
We're self-proclaimed influencers.
Those two. And so it's like, when I realized that fully I was interviewed, and it wasn't by anybody locally, but I was interviewed, and they asked the questions. I gave the answers. Once it hit the actual news that night, completely, I mean, my statement and my answer was very different to the question that was asked. Mm-hmm. Very different. And I'm like, what? Me?
That wasn't the conversation.
There was no reason. No, there was no reason. I mean, I'm distracted driving advocate. There was no reason for them to take clips out of context at all. There's none.
Right.
But you know what it did? Made it look like more hyperbolic. Made it look, more like I was mad.
Sensationalized.
Exactly. And I'm like, I get it. A local station to that area.
To that area, okay.
Not our area, but it wasn't CNN and it wasn't Fox News and it wasn't these big, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And I'm like, that's wow, powerful. So then I stopped listening to the news. Yes, I read the news, I look at the news, but I really set aside that, like, is this real? Is this being hyperbolic? I'll cross-reference it. I mean, people accuse me all the time for my views. I would be more like libertarian type views. I'm very constitutional, like originalist. And so I'm accused all the time of all you listen to is Fox News, and we've talked about that before, obviously, but all you talk about is Fox, or all you watch and listen to is like Fox News and Tucker Carlson and Hannity, and I'm like, I barely know who that even is. But I listen to a lot of podcasts that people would be considered progressive and liberal and left leaning. I listen to podcasts that are conservative and right leaning, and read a lot of different news and try to cross-reference all that stuff and figure out what's going on, really.
Right.
And the best way to do that is talk to your Cancun taxi driver.
Exactly. There's no way we would have found that information on print or on the news.
Yeah.
So it was good timing for this week's conversation, actually.
It is, yeah. That's really good timing for sure. And the thing I'm thinking about right now is I ask the question a lot. What's your experience been of racism? And you know what the answer is 99 out of 100 times?
I have a good idea.
I haven't experienced any racism in this country.
And are most of these drivers from this country?
I ask people of
everybody,
people of color. I'd ask you that. Mm-hmm. I ask everybody that. Let's be honest, the majority of taxi drivers and Lyft drivers and things have come from a different area, a different place. Mm-hmm. That's true. That's good.
Right.
I'm not saying that's a negative. To me, that's a positive. Mm-hmm. And they've been here for 50 years. I had a guy that was 80 years old, drive-in. I'm
Wow.
like, yeah. And he was from Israel.
Huh.
I've actually had a few people from Israel. And he said, I've been here for 50 years. I spent 30 years in Israel, been here for 50. You know, and he that's the kind of the point is like, and I ask him, he just hasn't experienced any. Mm-hmm. And it reminds me of when you get to, you look at the media, you look at what Congress is doing, you look at all these things, and they're stoking the fire of all these negative things. Thomas Sowell said it best, and I'm not going to say it verbatim, but he was asked a question, you know, about racism in the United States, and he said, racism exists, but it is on life support. And I see that every day.
Morgan Freeman, stop talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah, to Don Lemon.
Yes, stop talking about it.
Yeah. And so that's why you need to ask questions. Don't be afraid. Clearly, they're driving because they've passed the tests and they've, you know, the background tests and all these other things that happen with it. So ask them, talk to them. Mm-hmm. Talk to your grocer. I mean, it's not really a grocer anymore, but
and be genuine about it.
Yeah.
You know, before I left,
it's exciting for me. Sorry, this is exciting topics.
It is. Well, and show your appreciation for people. I mean, when we were on vacation, you know, it was kind of one of those. Don't just tip your bartenders, but don't just tip the people that you're interacting with. Like there was a guy that every day, I mean, woe is me, around the pool in Cancun, but every day this guy was scrubbing whatever people spilled on the concrete around the pool. And he was focused and into it. And I'm like, that guy probably never gets a thank you or shown any appreciation. And because he was doing most definitely grunt work.
Yeah.
And it's like, here's a few bucks. Thank you for working your butt off. Or thanking that gardener or whatever that they probably never see tips. And that could completely make their day. Before we had left, we do a yearly realtor rally in town, and we had an afternoon speaker, and it was a great speaker. And he said, talk to people. If they have a name tag, call them by their name, make it personal, and listen to their story, and thank them. And it was, the guy in the hotel that in the middle of a convention when 1,000 people leave a room for an hour, and that guy was there before the last person walked out, and he was realigning the chairs, and he did it every day for 30 years. And he did it with pride and without, thank yous or anything, but he was proud of his job for 30 years. That's what his job was.
Yeah.
And the speaker was in the back of the group exiting out, and he saw this starting, and he went over and took a picture with the guy, and he wrote a great letter to the hotel manager, and that guy was like employee of the year because of the speaker making an effort to go talk to him and hear his story, and then sharing that experience with that guy's boss.
Yeah, that's great.
And that completely changed that guy's life because he was actually recognized, not looking for it, but he was recognized for the hard work that he did.
Yeah.
So just such a simple gesture.
So many positives that come out of those like stranger conversations, if you allow it to. Mm-hmm. You learn a lot about even your own area. Let's say you're going to or from the airport right here in our local area. You can ask questions, and they might know of things, that are new or that are, kind of redone or whatever. A lot of things that you just might not know about your local area because they're running all kinds of different people around everywhere. It's cool.
They're the experts.
They are the experts.
Yep.
Go visit an area like Cancun or LA, or don't go to LA, just kidding. But you go to some of these areas and ask them, hey, what's one of the unknown but good restaurants? Ask these questions, and you're going to find some cool answers.
Were we talking about this on the show with the taxi drivers in Vegas and the marketing done by Wynn Hotel?
No, I don't remember that.
So it wasn't on the show then. They were getting the hotel opened,
Okay.
Steve Wynn, and they did a hard look on how do we advertise this. So they contacted like every cabbie in Vegas, and they brought every one of them in for a free dinner, for a free steak dinner at the hotel. So when those cabbies are picking up people from the airport, and somebody asks, where's a good steakhouse to go to? Where do you think every one of those cabbies is going to tell them?
That's right.
I'm like,
Best
that's
money spent.
freaking genius.
Yes, that is genius.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm like, well, it's so stupid simple.
Yeah.
It costs a lot of money, but probably spent a heck of a lot more on billboards and commercials and online than to feed 1,000 cabbies in Vegas.
Yeah, for sure. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Totally.
And you hear, fun, gross, weird,
unique.
Yeah. You hear interesting stories.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I mean, some of there's been like, can't remember for the life of me, one of the chefs, I can't remember his name, had to end up taking a Lyft or something because his other ride broke down. The spiky hair guy.
Guy Fieri.
Yes. So,
may have watched this show for
sure. I don't I don't know who. I mean, I know who it is, but I don't. But anyway, it was kind of cool because this guy shows up, and it's Guy
Fieri from Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives.
And he was, so there's cool stories like that you might learn from people.
Mm-hmm.
It's just now that the pandemic, according to President Joe Biden, is basically over. We should start communicating with people again is really the point.
Mm-hmm. And I am guilty, but put the dang phone down and talk to people face to face.
I'm guilty as heck too, man.
So guilty.
Yeah.
But have real conversations again. Get out and see your neighbors.
Yep. And look, we need the news. That's true. But as we've discovered on this show, we've been doing for a little over a year now. We're in our 70 some odd episodes. And the news is at best hyperbolic, at worst completely false. And we discover it all the time, over and over again. There's one sentence that might be true, and the rest of it is all just opinion or weird stuff that has nothing to do with actually what's happening.
Propaganda.
Yep. So with that said, support us if you want to. If you don't want to, rip into us. I'm probably not going to respond to comments. It's hard for me to do that. But Craig, what I will respond to is if you direct message me. So no matter where that is, send a direct message. I'll respond to you. Maybe we'll even set up a phone call if you really have some weird questions I can't answer via text in that kind of way. But as you know, I've done that with some critics of the show. We've talked about on the show even. But it's important. Conversation is important. And we're not going to always come to a place of complete understanding of each other. That's the reality. But we can still have a conversation and at the end of the day understand that we're all human.
Right. And we all have our own opinions.
That's right. And that's okay to do that.
It's very okay to do that.
Close us out.
Hammer that like button. Let us know what you think.
See you next time. Hey, I know that there's a lot of things to be critical of me for, and I accept that. I've not always made the best decisions, but I've always tried to learn. I've always tried to not repeat mistakes and give grace. The truth is I'm trying to do things to build a decent future, and this remodel here is to give a place for people to, come and have conversations and just do things like, build the future. Just build the future in the best way that we can. And we do that by conversation. That's how it starts. Finding solutions through conversation. Hey everybody, thanks for listening to this conversation that I just had. I was very honored to be a part of it, honored to be the host of This Matters in Real Life. I think it's extremely important to cover a lot of different things and topics and get people's opinions. When my daughter died in the car crash 10 years ago, I said that's what I would do. I would look at the answers, I would look at the truth, and I would make sure that they would intersect. They would not divorce each other. It's so often that we want answers that are not the truth. We want answers that are comfortable. We want answers that make us feel good. Well, there's a lot of things in life that it's not the case. So who am I? Well, I am you. I'm no different than you are. I eat and sleep and, all the different things. Same thing that you do. I hurt. I feel joy. I've had a lot of experience, probably just like you. I work hard, probably just like you. One of the things that you can do to support us is go to shinybrandmerch.com, where you'll see things like the sweatshirt that I have on. I'm a full-time, a truck driver. What do I deliver? Well, I deliver trucks. It's a little bit different of a gig than a normal truck driver, yes, but I am what would be considered a commercial vehicle transport specialist. So about 5 to 6 days a week, I deliver trucks. I get into a truck, I go 2,000 miles, I deliver it to its new owner, I get on an airplane and I go find another one. Nothing real glamorous unless you make it that way. And I've decided that I would have a lot of conversations along the way, and some of those conversations I'll be able to share with you. Again, hey, thanks for your support. Appreciate you. We'll see you next time.